is the talk line number, 540-0580. Call in. I'll answer your legal questions here on the air. And for those of you who don't follow us, we're down here in the Big Easy for a important religious holiday, and we'll be celebrating Ash Wednesday down here in New Orleans with a little Mardi Gras in between. So if you have a legal question, I'm live here on the air, 540-0580. Let me know what you got. Shane is going to be coordinating this remotely, so stay tuned for any technical difficulties, but I think we licked what happened when we were in D.C. So if you want to get your legal question answered live on the air, or you want to talk about the Supreme Court's recent decision on the Wellsboro Baptist Church matter, for instance, and the First Amendment, and why it is that these scumbuckets are allowed to protest military funerals, I'd be happy to answer your questions. So 540-0580. And I guess if you haven't heard, the United States Supreme Court ruled in a 8-1 decision that the Westboro Baptist Church can, in fact, protest these military funerals, finding that their First Amendment right trumped the right of the family or the father to be free from the harassment. Bill, you're on with Carl. What's going on, Bill?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Rominger. My question is children of divorced parents are getting a part-time job, whether that child's salary would affect the calculation of the child support payment or the alimony payment by the father?
It could potentially affect the alimony payment in an indirect route, and I'll come back to that for a second. There's no requirement in the support guidelines, and the support guidelines themselves do not anticipate that the child will or won't work. So my general experience is if a child were, say, a child actor with Macaulay Culkin or somebody who's making millions of dollars, there's not going to be an adjustment for either parent on the basis of the child's independent income. Now, for alimony purposes, yes, it's potentially an issue because alimony contemplates that each parent has certain financial stresses on them or duties, and one of those would be supporting their children. And obviously, if the children have independent incomes, there may be an argument that that parent has less need to support their children for alimony purposes. So if alimony were being decided for the first time, or if it were modifiable alimony, I think that could become a factor. But let me caveat it and say I think most judges would not find it to be a factor, again, unless the child's income was substantial.
Yeah, well, just a child, say, working, say, part-time as a bagger at the giant grocery store. I mean,
yeah, that's probably not going to change anything.
It wouldn't change anything.
I don't think so.
So it would still be, could reflect on the alimony payment.
Well, it could reflect on the alimony payment. Again, alimony is something that there's no mathematical formula for it, and the way a judge determines it is based on factors. And I got to believe, like, if I was responsible for the children and one of them got a part-time job or even one of them got a full-time job, minimum wage, 20 hours a week, while as a parent, that might let my buy his first car or something, it's probably not going to dramatically change my financial stresses as a household. And so that's why I don't think a judge would probably make a modification on that on a job like that. Whereas, again, if your child's into modeling or one of these, or some kind of, signed at 16 as a sports phenomenon or something, then obviously that could become a factor, but I think you'd be looking for unusually large income.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
All right, my friend.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
Right.
540-0580. Call in. We'll answer your legal questions here on the air. Carl Rominger. I'm an attorney in the Mid-State if you don't know me. If you have been listening for a while but you haven't gone to weekendappointment.com and free will kit, make sure you do that and send it in. We're doing those every week, and I enjoy it. You get to come in and meet with me in person, and we go over everything. And, again, I really enjoyed doing that and met some great folks. Sandy. Carl Rominger.
Hi, Carl. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
I got pulled over and prosecuted for a right turn on red violation.
Right turn on red violation?
Yeah. The officer said I did not stop, and I said I did. He said I didn't. He said he had it on film. I'm definitely going to fight it. Should I have legal representation for something like this?
my advice is you shouldn't, because here's what we would do if you hired me, or one of the guys in my office, or any other attorney for that matter. Well, I would hope the other attorneys would do that. I know we would. If you told me that the officer claims to have it on video, the first thing that would go out is what we call discovery request, saying produce the video. And then obviously you and I would sit down and watch the video. And sometimes when I watch the video with a client, I have to wrap my arm around you and go, well, I know you thought you stopped, or I know you thought you were driving fine, but there it is right there. You did a South Philly roll where you just never came to a complete stop, and we all feel like we stopped, but sometimes it isn't a full stop, and that's what the law requires. Other times I watch the video and I say, well, this doesn't even show whether you stopped or didn't stop, so I have no idea who's talking about what, but if he thinks it did, then maybe that'll help. And other times it shows you're innocent. So a lot of time I find that they can't seem to retrieve the video, and you know what that means, right?
They didn't. They didn't film it. Yeah.
Right. Or they did film and they didn't like the result, like the case I had where they lost 40 minutes of video. They could recover 5 minutes of audio, but the only 5 minutes of audio they could recover were the only 5 minutes of the entire 40-minute exchange that were bad for my client. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Magic
I
computers.
did kind of protest with him a little after he said that he had it on film. I said, well, just to let you know, I said, any infraction like this, I said, I'm going to be fired from my job. And I actually, at the time, did think I would be. I actually, I was really upset because I was one day short of being there 2 years.
And one of the things that I would do sometimes, and I can tell you, I had an officer the other day that thought my guy was an absolute jerk and thought that the guy was being just a pain and a problem. What he didn't know is that the client suffers from a disease which impairs his hearing ability terribly, but you wouldn't know it from looking at him, and it's intermittent, and it makes it hard for him to understand things, particularly when he's under stress. And it's an actual disease. I actually looked it all up and read about it.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, when I went to the officer, and I brought the officer a little, like WebMD snippet about the disease and told him the guy had it, he withdrew it and said, well, here I was thinking he was just being a jerk. I'll get rid of the points for him. And my point on that is sometimes we can go to the officer and say, she was maybe worried about this, and she thought she was going to lose her job, so she's a little more upset than she would have been otherwise, and we checked it out, and she's not going to lose her job. That's the good news, but can't we get rid of these points? And sometimes that works, too.
Well, he said he didn't give me any points.
Oh, did he write you up for a 3111?
Pardon?
Did he charge you under 3111, or did he charge you under the stop sign violation?
He claimed it was right turn on red violation, but that I wouldn't get any points.
Okay. I'd have to look that one up to see if that carries points or not. It may not. If it doesn't, my usual advice is don't worry about it. But again, theoretically, it's a moving violation, so it could still cause an insurance issue. And
also, didn't you have somebody on the show that even though it didn't, he said it didn't cause anything on his record or so on and so forth, the gentleman wasn't able to have a gun permit or...
Yeah, we've had some problems like that. That wouldn't be a problem for you based on charge you're telling me. I got to go to break, so I appreciate your question. If you want to talk to us off the air, just go to weekendappointment.com, okay?
Okay, thanks, Carl. Have a good time.
All right, thank you. 540-0580. I'll see you guys after the break live from New Orleans. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580, broadcasting live from New Orleans, down here for Mardi Gras. Have my chicory coffee from the Café Du Monde, so if you ever get a chance to order some of that, or if you want me to bring you some back, just shoot me an email and we'll figure it out. 540-0580. And let's see who we have next here. Barb.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I find your program very instructive, and I like listening to it. I have a question about workers' comp.
Yes.
I was injured on 2/21 of this year, and I thought it would, I would go to the doctors, they'd send me to PT, I'd be fine. And now I'm going to another doctor an orthopedic surgeon because of the first two doctors at a place nearby that they sent me to from work. The first doctor who saw me, basically, he said he had no say whether I went back to work, and at the time of the injury, I could barely walk, could barely sit, I could barely stand the pain, and when I said, I can't move, how am I supposed to get to work? I can't even drive myself. He said, you get somebody to take you. To which I responded rather aggressively with someone I got out of the room when he went to get me pain medicine, and got out of the room, and I was pleading with somebody in the office. They went, and he said, come back in 2 days. You off work 2 days. So I came back in 2 days, and the next doctor at this place said that I wasn't in. He said, you know, I think you're in pain. I believe you're in pain. I believe you feel pain. He said, but I'm going to tell you, you don't feel that much pain. And he told me it was because I smiled. I don't know what I said for the next 5 minutes, but he gave me 5 more days, at which time I started to look for an orthopedic surgeon because at that time I still wasn't recovering from the pain in my back.
Right.
And so, lo and behold, the orthopedic surgeon they listed on their panel was retired, which meant I could find my own because they didn't have 6 people on the panel.
Did you find one that you liked?
I did. I found a good one. But now when I went to him, still thinking he would just say, take off this long and go PT, now they're looking at something that he has to rule out a compression fracture. When he said that, I remembered that on the 14th of January of this year, I fell on an office chair that had been reported to maintenance. Maintenance would rig it up, and then we'd get it back, and over the past 3 years, people have had incidents with the chair. I was alone in the office, and I fell and torqued my body in such a way that when I fell on top of the office dog that sits in the office all the time, partially on him, but to avoid him, I torqued my body, and the chair fell on me. I didn't go to the doctor's, but I went down to the lady in the office, and I filled out a form saying what happened and said, you guys need to get that chair out of there and get a new one.
Let me interrupt you for a second here. So where are you at with workers' comp right now?
Well, now I'm over 2 weeks. I haven't filed any. I don't know how you file for claims. I know that I have a claims adjuster for the medical, but now it looks like I'm going to have to file because they want me off until I see the doctor again on 3/24 and they do the bone scan.
Okay. You want to give them notice and you want to do your filing right away, but I would recommend you do it with an attorney. A lot of competent workers' compensation attorneys out there. I do a little bit of it myself, but I refer most of it out to a fellow I had on the show before, Fred Haight. So can you contact me by email?
Yeah.
And I'll give you Fred's contact information. I want you to run this by him, and I'll tell you what to do.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Who's next? Let's see. Sam.
Hi, that's Tam with a T.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Tam.
Listen to your show often.
Chang. You can't type.
Oh, no. Well, I can't either. So, it's hard for me to make a long story short, but I will. I will try. I have this long time friend, and she had very little family, and she became ill, and I found myself her power of attorney, put her in a nursing home, but I took care of her affairs, paid her bills, lots of time spent taking care of her, which, and over this period of time, she gifted me some of her possessions. And she passed away, and she has a sister, and her sister, and I've been in touch with her sister, so it's not like out of the blue her sister called me. But to our knowledge, there is no will. I mean, there might be one out there, but, she just passed away, so who knows. Who becomes the executor when something like this happens?
Okay. Who becomes the executor when somebody passes
or
away?
Or executrix or whatever.
The short answer is it's the person named in the will. If there's nobody named in the will, if there's no will, it is the next of kin.
Okay, that would be
following the
her.
general laws of intestacy. And so, for instance, if there were 3 children, each of the 3 would be eligible, and the court would say, we want to hear from all 3 of you. If one of you wants it and 2 of you don't, we'll take that one. If otherwise, if all 3 of you want it, we'll figure it out from there.
Okay,
Otherwise, you can go down through the family tree.
Okay, well, it's her. There's, she's it. She's
right. And so after that, then any interested party could probably petition the court as well as a creditor.
Okay, well, this is my next question. She sent me an email. She'd already seen a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And sent me a list of things she wants. And on that list is things that this person had given me. I have no receipt, when someone gives you a gift, I didn't even think, hey, do you want to write that down that you gave it?
Right.
I just...
So these items were items that they gave you?
Yes.
They want them back now?
The woman who passed away gifted me, and there's some money items in here. She gifted me these things, and...
Well, to the extent that you receive bona fide gifts, you don't have to give them back. The party asserting a gift has the burden of proving a gift, but a gift is generally meant if we can show delivery and intent. And intent can be inferred partly from delivery as well as surrounding circumstances. So a gift is not, while the burden of a gift has to be by clear and convincing evidence, it's not quite often hard to prove where there's been delivery.
Well, the thing of it is she did this after she was in the nursing home. And, I took care of cleaning out her house. And
here's the next thing you should know. The law says that a gift to a power of attorney by a principal within 1 year of death is to be viewed with suspicion, but it still can be found to be a valid gift. So this demand that's being made of you probably
so this stuff she gave me over a year ago.
Right. That's what I'm saying, but it's still your job to assert gift, and they can still come after you, and then you're going to have to defend on gift. So I would strongly urge you to take this email and sit down with somebody like me and prepare a formal response so the other side understands that you're not going to just...
well, I don't want to pick up dust, because so far we've had a
amicable relationship?
Yes, and I don't want to kick up any dust if I don't, I want to remain friends with this person. Because
right.
But it's kind of funny that the past 2 years. She called her an awful lot, but she didn't go see her, and her children never went to see her or anything like that. Now all of a sudden, boom, jumping in with both feet, and I want these things back, and it's like, how do I prove she gave them to me?
Right.
And there's people at the nursing home could certainly attest to our relationship. That she didn't even want me discussing her medical stuff with her family or anything. But I don't want trouble, but I don't want to give these things up either.
Gotcha. Well, the short answer is based on what you told me. Both sides might have a legal claim. It's something I would strongly urge you to sit down with a lawyer and go over in detail and be prepared to either resolve it by agreed-to resolution or resolve it by staking out a position. And a lot of times getting a lawyer involved does nothing other than let the other side know that you've explored your legal rights, and there's different ways of doing it. We don't always have to write a letter that says terrible things to the other side. We can sometimes write a letter that says, you came to see me to clarify this situation. Here's my opinion of it, and here's why you don't have to give anything back. But you're still willing to do X, Y, and Z to make everybody happy.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. If my friend had any outstanding debts. Like her sister was fearful that she would be held responsible for those debts.
No, I don't think that would be the
Well,
case.
that's what I said to her. I said, I just don't see how just because you're the executor of her estate.
No. Executors, executrixes, administrators do not become personally liable for the estate unless they commit malfeasance or they sign some additional guarantees with some third party, which they don't have to do. I've just seen people try to represent. This is why people should never do their own estate, because that's when they get themselves into trouble. They make agreements on behalf of themselves as well as the estate. I got to go to break, but
Okay.
I think you know what to
Carl.
do based on what we talked about.
I'll probably be giving you a call.
All right, you take care. 540-0580, Carl Rominger, broadcasting live from the Big Easy here in Louisiana. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here, broadcasting live from New Orleans. They've got a little thunderstorm situation going on down here, so I don't mind missing the parades this afternoon because I'm staying because I'm talking to you. 540-0580. I'm going to keep answering your legal questions here live on the air. And Ellie, who had sent me a question on Facebook, if you haven't friended me on Facebook, feel free to do so. That way you can see crazy pictures from New Orleans. You can follow all my bad habits like whiskey drinking and cigar smoking, and you can do what Ellie did, which is send me a question. And Ellie's question basically was, is the right to free speech the same as or different than the right to be heard? And what she was saying is she had been told, or there was some wisdom on the streets, that your right to free speech doesn't mean you have the right to be heard. And that is true. You don't have a right to be heard. However, to the extent that you have a right to speech, you have a right to make it even as a targeted or focused protest and kind of force yourself sometimes into a situation. And so while you don't have a right to be heard, your right to speech can sometimes cross over into a way where you can force yourself into being heard, and then people can choose to ignore you or follow you. And I stuck at the Westboro Baptist Church, and if you saw the email I sent out the other day, is just despicable people. And I hate to say that about church, despicable people and church in the same sentence, but they really are. And the fact that they've had as much national attention as they've had, and they still can't get over 100 members, should tell you that while they certainly have enjoyed the right to speech and they have ruined a lot of moments for a lot of families, it has caused them mainly to be ignored. So, Ellie, I guess in summation, the way I would answer your question is the right to speech can be the right to be heard to the extent that you can force yourself in, but there's no absolute right to be heard. Anybody pay attention to you, and fortunately, we can ignore you. And frankly, if people would just ignore these horrible people from the Westboro Baptist Church, they'd stop getting all this free publicity. 540-0580, John.
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Go ahead, John.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
All right. I got a traffic citation yesterday.
Okay.
And I'm wondering what to do with it. Meaning,
I recommend you tear it up and throw it in the wastebasket.
Well, no, not that.
Okay. No, seriously, what I would do, well, let me ask you this. What did they track you with?
Would they track me with a radar gun?
Okay, but did they charge you with speeding then?
Nature offense speeding, yes.
Okay, how fast did they say you're going?
They say I was going 99. I'm sure I wasn't going more than possibly 85.
No. Don't say anything. You don't have to talk. Remember that. You don't have to give me your speed. They have to prove your speed. But nonetheless, if you're going to be an honest egg, sometimes the judge will listen to you and say, you know what, this guy says he's going 85. I figure he wouldn't tell me 85 unless he was over the speed limit, and that's probably an accurate speed.
Radar can be going over the speed limit, so...
Radar can be horribly inaccurate if it's not used properly. There's some great video. A very good traffic attorney, John Mank, did a series of videos where he shows what happens when you don't use the radar gun appropriately. There's a lot of literature out there. I know we've talked with an expert in my office about it. point is you don't want to just plead guilty to 99 miles over.
Well, right.
So get an attorney, plead not guilty, and get an attorney.
Okay. Is that something you would do? The court's in...
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, I sent an email to your office. Is that good enough?
That should work. But here, the office number is 241-6070.
I left a message there, too, so...
Okay, good. Then they must have it. And,
right.
Of course, there won't be anybody there till Monday. And I won't be back till Wednesday.
All right.
Because I'm down here drinking Hurricanes and Abita beer and chicory coffee, although I haven't drank today, but one beer could be in shape for the show today, and I don't want to give anybody bad advice.
All right. Thank you.
John. All right, take care. 540-0580. Tom.
Hey, Carl. Quick question for you. December of 2008, I got a DUI, and basically went through the ARD program, was released from Dauphin County probation in June of 2010. I was under the understanding when you went through the ARD program that basically it did not show up on any records that you received a DUI. And come to find out, when I went to go for a job interview, they basically their deal was if you've ever had a DUI, you weren't qualified. I was upfront and forthright, and they gave me the job anyhow, but I found out that PennDOT actually keeps that on their records for time immemorial, basically. And I'm wondering if there's a way to get that off of PennDOT's records.
No, the way PennDOT has carefully over the years guarded their power jealously, worked with the state legislature. The guy over there, the chief counsel named Harold Kramer, who's been around since the 70s, and whether you like it or not, I mean, depending what side of the fence you're on various issues, he has made sure that PennDOT's powers are strong. And as a result, the legislature, when they crafted the newest DUI law with PennDOT's input, has it so that PennDOT can keep it on the driver's record, but they're supposed to expunge it after 10 years. And so your ARD does result in an expungement of your criminal records, but it is correct that anybody that gets hold of your driver's record going back for 10 years on your 10-year record, your lifetime record, it's going to show for 10 years. And there's nothing to do about that.
Nothing you can do about that.
Which has led a couple times to me and clients deciding not to take ARD for them and rolling the dice on a guilty or not guilty, because either for CDL reasons, commercial driver's license, or for insurance reasons, it wasn't financially viable for them to take ARD. They'd rather rot in jail for 2 days or do 6 months probation and roll the dice and hope that they win. And actually, we've been successful sometimes. Sometimes we haven't, and we've turned down ARD on that basis. But nonetheless, that is a real problem, and I don't think it should be accessible to the public. It would be. I don't think I would have a problem with PennDOT keeping a record of it, because they have to keep a record for certain purposes, such as 3 major violations in a 5-year period, etc.
Right.
But no, I think it's unfortunate. Nothing can be done about that.
Okay, I didn't know, because that's the only thing I've ever had, and I'm almost 40 years old, and I thought, well, maybe since I'm such a good boy, maybe they'd just get rid of it, but I guess not.
Right. Nope, unfortunately not. All right, my friend.
Thanks, sir.
All right, Tom. Bill, you're on WHP 80 with Carl.
Hey, Carl, I hope you're enjoying yourself down here. It's nice up here, too.
Yeah. I just saw one of our party members come running in and out of the hotel room here, and she's doesn't look too good. They look a little wet.
Hey, I have called you, I think, twice before about my motorcycle situation.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not get an ARD, and it's going to go to court. There's a couple things that has happened to me prior to that on my mountain bike. I went out over my handlebars up in the mountains and crunched my neck between my legs, so I had to go to a chiropractor, and he took care of me and did a couple things for me, and it was a week after that is when I was riding my motorcycle. So I expunged those treatments, And I'm going to take them with me because that was one of the reasons why I, like I said, what I did with the mace, because I didn't want to be struck in the head or anything. Because when the guy got out of the car, so I'm going to take this stuff to my lawyer, and he says maybe we can get it, or you can get the two. And it's two simple assaults. He says, when you get that, then that'll be okay. I said, well, yeah. But he says, if he goes to court, I said, then we'll go to court, and I'll make him, I'll run him through the railroad tracks. If he wants to spend the money, I will too. But,
right.
And I won't know until the 14th what's going on. But I am definitely going to give that information to my lawyer. Do you feel as I should?
Yeah, I think you should.
Because it's imperative, it's imperative because of what happened to me. Yes, go ahead.
Listen, here's the answer. If you think maybe I should get information to a lawyer, you should. And anybody out there, anything you're wondering about, should I tell my lawyer about it or not? The answer is, if you're driving down the road and you wonder, should I turn my headlights on? Is it dark enough to turn my headlights on? If you have to wonder about it, just do it, because you can't hurt yourself by turning your headlights on too soon. Well, you can't hurt yourself by giving your lawyer too much information, unless your lawyer starts going, stop. Before you tell me certain things, because we have these weird ethical rules that, like OJ, if you don't tell me you killed Nicole, I can put you on the stand and let you say it. But if my name's Kardashian and I'm your first lawyer, and maybe you told me that maybe I drop the case and claim it's because I have to raise my crazy daughters, so that I don't have to ethically be put in an awkward situation when my client wants to take the stand and lie. So anyhow, point being is, yes, more information from the lawyer is 99% of the time better. And Shane says I have to go to break. So
okay, all right.
540-0580. I'll see you after the break. Hey, Carl Rominger here, 540-0580, answering your legal questions live from New Orleans, down here on a religious pilgrimage to celebrate Ash Wednesday next Wednesday, or I guess observe Ash Wednesday, because we would not celebrate. I guess we observe it. But probably celebrate Fat Tuesday just in case. Anyhow, who's up next here? According to my lineup, Jay is up. Jay, WHP 580.
Hi, Carl. Not a legal question, just a comment on something you said very recently, talking about the Westboro Baptist Church. You said something to the effect that you hate to use the terms reprehensible. I'm not sure if that was the exact word you used, and church in the same sense. I tend to think that churches are not infallible, and throughout history, I think organized religion has probably caused as many problems as it's solved. Going back to the Inquisition and other things like that. So, not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not. I don't know why we should be surprised or anything at the idea of
religious impulses have, for thousands of years, been some of the sources of the greatest human achievement, and also some of the sources of the greatest human suffering. And any who says otherwise just hasn't read history. I mean, from the Crusades, you go back even farther, and people have routinely routed each other simply based on religion and made poor, terrible decisions. So you're right. What I think is unfortunate about these guys is they have been able to somehow. I mean, they have a better publicist than Demi Moore. I mean, somehow they're on the cover of every. Yeah, but not Charlie Sheen. That's right. And Charlie Sheen's having a little more fun than they are.
Well, anyway, that's just the idea that it certainly is a shame, but it certainly calling yourself a church isn't making you.
Well, and that's the other interesting question too. Is what religion? And I had somebody telling me that the other day. They said, "Well, these guys aren't really a church anyhow." And I'm like, "Really? So who draws the line? Because is the Church of Latter-day Saints a church? Is a Baptist church, independent Baptist church, a Baptist church? I mean, these Westboro guys claim to be Baptist. Is the Catholic Church a church?" We had a caller when I filled in for Durgan told me Catholics aren't even Christians. There's a large divergence of viewpoints among people on all those points.
Is a synagogue a church? Is a mosque a church? There are people that think that they're wrong because a church.
Well, sure, everybody's going to hell. Just ask somebody else.
But okay, well, that was just my comment. That's all.
Yeah, and no, and I like your comment because it reminds me of the issue is once it claims to be a religion for free speech purposes, we're probably going to err on the side of recognizing them as, quote, a religion or it as religious speech, even if it doesn't look like religious speech to us based on our own viewpoints, because the government's job is to be content neutral in these cases.
Yeah, well, I'm almost, sometimes I think of the opinion that churches or other religious, I shouldn't just say churches, but any religious group should be taxed. I don't know. But then, of course, do you take that then to all the nonprofits?
Right, right, and that's an interesting question, right? Because then you're picking secular nonprofits over, so then I guess to espouse officially that you have no viewpoint or that your viewpoint. I mean, give me an example of a lot of charities have mission statements, which might include references to quasi-religious material, and they'll say we're not a religion, we're a not-for-profit, but on the final analysis, it would be hard to look at their charter and see it much different than a small church's charter.
Yeah. Well,
all right, my friend.
That's everything.
Thank you very much.
All right,
great thinking material there.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. 540-0580, Ralph on the air.
Mr. Rominger.
Hey,
hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. Ralph.
Hello, we put it on another channel. Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, Ralph, I've got you.
Yeah, I'm wondering, can you bring me back a bag of beads? That's my first question. And the second question, huh?
I can bring you some beads, absolutely. I've already got a few.
I need a bag of them.
You need a whole bag.
All right, thank you. Sir, and I want to ask another question. How long should one wait to get a return call from a lawyer after you have a meeting with them?
Well, it depends on what it was about, and it depends exactly what the final understanding is. If you haven't, I would do two things. One is I would usually tell people to schedule a phone appointment with the lawyer, meaning if you haven't gotten anything back from them yet, I would schedule the phone appointment and have the secretary nail it down, because sometimes it's very hard for lawyers to get back to an individual person without it being on their calendar or tickled. And if they forgot to put you on the first time you were a callback, that would be the issue. Okay. Well, Carol.
Hi, Carl. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I want to ask you a question. I own a commercial building, okay? Not a real expensive building or anything like that. And somebody contacted me, and they want to buy it off of me, and they want to buy it with a sales agreement.
Okay.
Okay? And is that something that happens often? Is that something I should think about? Or, what's the drawbacks for me?
It happens quite often. The drawbacks for you are you need to make sure your sales agreement is adequately written and adequately protects you if they fail to make payment.
Okay.
The major difference between a sales agreement and selling it outright and carrying the paper is no deed is actually transferred, and tax consequences can be slowed down.
Okay.
So, for instance, if there's a capital gain to be had on it, you wouldn't realize the gain until you've actually collected enough money on the sales agreement to get above your basis points.
Okay. So, now, what about the fire insurance and the taxes? Am I still responsible for that?
And if it burns down,
right? What happens?
Responsible? The agreement usually makes it clear that the buyer's responsible, but that you'd be named as what we call a named insured on there, so that two things would happen. Number one is if something happened, you'd be one of the people who could pay under the policy, and number two, all the notifications of default or delinquency would also go to you as well, so that if your buyer failed to make payments or timely keep up on the insurance issues or just outright canceled the policy, you'd have notification. And then a well-written agreement like the ones I use would include provisions that talk about what bad things we're going to do to the buyer if they don't keep it under insured, etc.
Okay, can you give me an idea what it would cost to get that written up and,
Yeah, the short answer is depending on the complexity of the transaction.
Yeah, there is rental units in there.
Right. I tell people figure anywhere from $200 to $1,500.
$1,500. Okay. All right. I'll contact your office then. Thank you, Carl.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions on WHP 540-0580. Not sure if I don't think I have any other callers on hold right now. So what I'll do is leave you guys with a couple thoughts. Number one, it's terrible that these people from the Westboro Baptist Church have been able to do the terrible speech they have, but it's a great thing we live in a country where they can. And what do I mean by that? If you were stuck in Iran, if you were stuck in any oppressive regime around the world, which we see some rebellion going on, those countries do not allow you as a citizen to even make a joke about a leader. The things that are said on nighttime television about either party, the things that are said on Fox News, the things that are said on CBS News, much of what is said daily on all of our mass medias would land a person in jail, in detention, perhaps with no trial, perhaps definitely with no jury, and no fair recourse. And so remember, as frustrating as it is, in order to maintain an absolutely free society, or so free as we are, and to maintain the ability to talk about the freedoms in a fair and diverse way, we have to give broad protections to speech. So don't get trapped in being upset. And I explained this the other day to somebody. If an abortion protester wants to stand 1,000 feet away from an abortion clinic with a sign that says abortion kills or abortion murders babies, and a girl who was raped and a victim of incest who's walking past those signs on her way to the abortion clinic is certainly going to be offended. And she may be hurt, she may be confused, she may even change her mind. I don't know. But we know that there would be a good argument to say because people like her might walk by those signs, we shouldn't let anybody hold them up that close to an abortion clinic. Well, Westboro Baptist Church was 1,000 feet away from the funeral on public ground, putting up their crazy signs. Point being is, if you're not going to allow Westboro Baptist to do what they do, then you probably can't let somebody protest an abortion the same way. I know we can get down into arguments about, well, one's more related to the topic than others, but speech regulation has to be content neutral.